You can have my company if you beat me with that junk. Richard Hale's voice had cut through the parking lot loud enough for everyone to hear. An old black janitor stood there calm, holding keys to a battered 1930 Cadillac. Phones went up, whispers spread. Why did Hale want to race, and why did the old man accept so easily? Moments later, something none of them expected started unfolding. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now, let's begin. Richard Hale liked control. He liked the way people stepped aside when his red Ferrari rolled into the company lot every morning. But that afternoon, the rhythm shifted. His usual parking space sat occupied by a dusty 1930 Cadillac that looked like it had crawled out of another century. He stopped walking. His guests stopped with him. One of them whispered, "Who parked that relic here?" Hale's jaw tightened. Heat rose off the pavement, and the air smelled like engine oil from the old car. A few employees lingered nearby, murmuring the way people do when something unusual breaks the routine. The owner of the Cadillac, an elderly black janitor named Lewis Carter, walked toward the vehicle with a quiet pace, holding a ring of keys that jingled against his worn work pants. He didn't seem to notice the crowd watching him. He just wiped his hands on a towel, squinted at the faded paint, and unlocked the door. Hale stepped forward. "You parked here." Lewis looked up confused for half a second, then nodded. All other spaces were filled. Hale laughed. It wasn't a friendly sound. "You thought parking your junk next to a Ferrari was a good idea?" His guests exchanged looks. A phone camera clicked on. Someone whispered, "This is going to be good." Lewis didn't respond. He just adjusted his glasses and checked the Cadillac's mirror like nothing out of the ordinary was happening. That calmness irritated Hale even more. He moved closer, lowering his voice just enough to keep tension sharp. "You know who owns this place?" "Doesn't change where the open space was," Louis said. His tone stayed flat, almost polite. More employees drifted in, forming a loose circle. A few smirked. One guy muttered, "This old man's about to get cooked." Hale loved the attention. He pointed at both cars. "Tell you what, since you're brave enough to park next to me, let's make it interesting." He leaned in with a smug smile. "Race me. If that antique beats me, you can have my company." A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. Someone gasped. Another whispered, "He's serious?" Lewis blinked slowly, as if the words took a moment to settle. "You want to race over a parking spot?" "No," Hale said. "I want to show these gentlemen what real power looks like." He tapped the Ferrari's hood, enjoying the reflection of flashing phone cameras. "Your call." Lewis looked at the Cadillac. His fingers tapped the metal lightly, a small, thoughtful motion. Then he looked at Hale. "You're sure?" The crowd leaned in. A breeze passed through the lot, carrying the faint scent of rubber and dust. Hale nodded, grinning. "Absolutely." Lewis gave one small shrug. "All right." The murmurs grew louder, phones angled higher. The air shifted again, the kind of silence that comes before a story people will repeat later. And just like that, the race everyone would soon talk about began with a single nod from a man who never raised his voice. The story spread through the building faster than Hale expected. By the time they moved to the far end of the lot, a trail of employees followed, whispering like they were chasing a rumor they didn't want to miss. Someone said, "He really made the janitor race him." Another replied, "Hale's showing off again." A few laughed under their breath, but the laughter had an edge, like they were waiting for something messy. Lewis didn't speak. He opened the Cadillac's hood with a slow, steady motion, letting the hinge creak. A faint smell of old gasoline drifted out. He reached inside, tightening a strap, checking a hose, nudging a loose latch. Simple movements, no rush, no nerves. His breathing stayed even, like he'd done this every day for 40 years. Hale strutted around his Ferrari, soaking up the attention. "Look at this masterpiece," he told his investors. 2.5 seconds. He slid his hand across the hood, making sure it caught the reflection of every camera. The crowd murmured, phones pointed at him like he was on stage. Lewis wiped a smudge from the Cadillac's mirror. "Didn't know we needed all this for a small race," he said quietly. One employee snorted. "Grandpa thinks he's funny." Hale smirked. "Let him talk. He'll be eating dust soon." He climbed into the Ferrari and revved the engine. The sound boomed across the asphalt, sharp and angry. People flinched at the blast. Lewis didn't flinch. He simply closed the Cadillac's hood and sat behind the wheel, adjusting the seat like he was settling in for an everyday drive. He tapped the dashboard once with 2 fingers, a tiny gesture no one understood. A group of workers stepped toward the starting line, trying to organize the scene. One of them whispered, "This is wild. He's racing a man who could be his grandfather." Another added, "Hale's going to make this go viral." The sun pressed hard on the concrete, heating the air around them. Sweat collected on people's foreheads. The crowd pressed closer, forming a loose semicircle behind the cars. Someone muttered, "Crazy how calm the old guy is." Hale rolled down his window. "Hope that thing can even move," he called out. Lewis didn't look at him. He just tightened his grip on the steering wheel and exhaled once, slow. A supervisor lifted her hand. "On my signal." The rumble of the Ferrari filled the lot. The Cadillac's engine gave a soft, uneven hum in comparison, a sound that made a few people chuckle. Lewis kept his gaze forward. 3, 2, 1, go. Hale shot forward, tires screeching. The car surging like it wanted the spotlight as much as he did. The crowd cheered as he disappeared down the straight path. Lewis pulled off the line quietly. No surge, no drama, just a steady roll that matched the rhythm of his heartbeat. People laughed. "He's not even trying." Another voice said, "Man, this is going to be embarrassing." But Lewis didn't look embarrassed. He looked focused. And for some reason, that quiet focus made a few people stop laughing. Hale's Ferrari flew down the long stretch, its engine screaming through the open space. The crowd chased after the 2 cars from a distance, phones raised high, capturing every second. People joked, shouted, and argued about how fast Hale would win. Nobody questioned the outcome. Halfway down the route, the Ferrari's sound shifted. A sharp sputter cut through the roar. Hale frowned and pressed the accelerator again. The pedal gave resistance. A warning light blinked on the dashboard. Another light followed, then another. The engine coughed hard, shaking the frame. Hale muttered, "Not now." He tapped the wheel, a nervous tick he didn't notice. Heat radiated from the engine bay, filling the cabin with a faint metallic smell. He tried one more push. The Ferrari jerked forward, shuddered, then died in the middle of the lane. Silence swallowed him. The cameras were still far behind, but he knew someone would catch up soon. Sweat gathered on his forehead, and his breath came tight. He opened the door, stepped onto the pavement, and stared at the stalled machine like it had betrayed him on purpose. Behind him, the soft hum of the Cadillac grew louder. Not fast, not dramatic, just steady, like a heartbeat. People running beside the cars slowed down, watching with confusion. One whispered, "Is the Ferrari broken?" Another said, no way that just happened." Lewis's Cadillac moved closer, its old body rattling just slightly with each bump. The sun glinted off the faded chrome trim. He slowed as he reached Hale's stop.
Stalled Ferrari. He leaned out the window, voice low and even. "Need a lift?" Hale's face drained. "You can't be serious." Lewis reached over and unlocked the passenger door. A soft click echoed louder than the crowd behind them. "Race hasn't ended. You want to finish or not?" The workers caught up, gathering around the Ferrari with wide eyes. Someone gasped. He really broke down. Another laughed under their breath, but the laugh sounded nervous, not mean. Hale hesitated. Cameras pointed straight at him. Investors stared, stunned. Every second he stood there made the humiliation heavier. He swallowed hard and climbed into the Cadillac without a word, lowering himself into the cracked leather seat. The Cadillac rolled forward again, slow, reliable, the kind of pace no one had respected 5 minutes ago. Bystanders stepped aside, watching the strange scene, the arrogant millionaire riding shotgun in the beaten car he'd mocked. People whispered as they filmed, "This is insane." Another voice said, "He's riding with him? That's crazy." The Cadillac kept moving toward the finish line, its engine humming like a quiet reminder that not everything powerful roared. Louis didn't smile, he didn't gloat, he didn't even look at Hale. He just drove, steady, controlled, focused. And in that strange quiet, Hale realized something unsettling. For the first time all afternoon, he wasn't in control. The Cadillac rolled across the finish line with no rush at all. No roar, no showmanship, just a gentle rumble that made the scene feel even stranger. Workers and guests crowded the line, waiting to record the moment. When the old car stopped, all eyes locked on the passenger side. The door opened. Hale stepped out. His face was pale. His shirt clung to his back from the heat and humiliation. Phones angled closer, catching every twitch in his jaw, every uneasy breath. Someone whispered, "He lost in his own challenge." Another muttered, "Man drove a Ferrari and still got carried to the finish."
Louis got out slowly, stretching his legs, rubbing his knee like this was just another workday. He didn't speak, he didn't smile, he just stood there, letting the moment breathe. The silence around him grew heavier, wrapped in disbelief and a little discomfort. Hale cleared his throat. "Listen, everyone, this wasn't exactly what it looked like." His voice cracked. A camera zoomed in. Investors stepped forward, faces tight. One of them said quietly, "Richard, this is bad." Another added, "The board is watching the live stream." Hale tried to form a defense. "The Ferrari had a mechanical issue." "It wasn't." A young employee cut in. "You said he could have the company if he won." His tone wasn't disrespectful, just factual. Another worker nodded. "We all heard it." Hale's lips pressed into a thin line. His hands trembled slightly as he shoved them into his pockets. The weight of the crowd's eyes trapped him. The power he usually commanded slipped through his fingers. Phones kept recording, capturing the slow collapse of a man who built his identity on dominance. Louis stepped forward at last. He wiped his hands on his towel, looked Hale directly in the eye, and spoke in a steady voice. "I didn't race for your company. I raced because you asked." A murmur ran through the crowd. Someone whispered, "He's letting him off." Another shook their head. "He's different. He's not petty." Louis continued, "I'm not here to take anything from you. Not your job, not your money. I just wanted to finish what you started." Hale blanked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. The tension in his shoulders loosened just a fraction, but the embarrassment didn't fade. The investors stepped closer. One of them said, "Richard, your behavior today reflects poorly on this company." His voice stayed calm but sharp. Another added, "You mocked an employee on camera. You caused a public spectacle. You dragged guests into it." The board's chairwoman, who had arrived minutes earlier, crossed her arms. "We can't ignore this level of unprofessional conduct." Hale swallowed. His eyes darted around the crowd, searching for an escape. None appeared. Louis took one small step back, giving Hale space to face his consequences. No grand speech, no victory pose, just a quiet presence that made the truth harder to avoid. People kept filming in silence. The power shift was complete, and no one needed to announce it. The board met with Hale privately, but the crowd already sensed the outcome. Word spread fast. Suspension, investigation, leadership review. Employees whispered as they drifted back inside, replaying the moment the Cadillac carried Hale past the finish line. Some shook their heads, others smiled a little, unsure how to process such a spotless reversal. Louis didn't linger. He walked back to his old car, moving with the same quiet rhythm he had before the race. He checked the door handle, brushed dust from the seat, and eased himself inside like the day was already done. A few workers approached him, offering soft congratulations. One said, "You kept your cool, sir. Respect." Louis nodded once. Didn't need more than that.
The chairwoman stopped beside his window. "If you're willing, we'd like you to advise us on improving workplace culture. We saw how you handled all this." Her tone carried genuine respect. Louis considered it, then gave a small nod. "If it helps people treat each other better, sure." As he drove away, the Cadillac's engine hummed through the warm air, steady and unbothered. Behind him, the company buzzed with fallout and change. Ahead of him, the road stretched open, quiet. People online replayed the clip for days. Not for the race, not for the car trouble. For the moment, the millionaire sat in the passenger seat of the man he mocked. The lesson hit harder than any engine roar. Consistency beats pride. Respect outlasts power. And the quietest man in the room can end up steering the whole story. If this moment hit you, don't scroll off. There are more stories where
arrogance falls and character wins. Follow now and catch the next chapter as soon as it drops.